Welcome to Beyond the Clef, live on the convention floor here at the Director's Choice booth. I'm your host, David, and I'm joined by my good friend, Chris Meredith. Chris, you're from Shadow Ridge Middle School.
That's right.
Yeah. And
Flower Mound, Texas.
Flower Mound, Texas. All right, and you feed Flower Mound?
Yes, right.
Okay, all right. And how many years have you been there?
I've been there now for 10 years,
10
starting
years?
my 11th year of teaching.
Oh, great,
Yeah.
great, awesome, awesome. Well, middle school, I'm middle school band, you're a middle school band. There's so much that I've been wanting to work on lately, and I'm trying to figure out the best way and getting all the ideas about the best way to retain kids from year to year and on to the next program, the high school program.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And that's our big challenge. And so, what's your philosophy on retention?
You know, retention or recruiting, whatever, you know,
Right.
whatever you want to talk about.
Well, retention is just recruiting for the next step.
Yeah,
so,
you're right.
Yeah.
You know, we're in a people business,
Right.
you know, and how we interact with people is huge. So our basic philosophy is just grassroots. Interactions that you have with every day with your students or with your parents, all of that multiplies into the bigger picture.
Sure.
So it's always about treating the child or the parent the right way all the time, which helps us.
Sure, sure. Yeah, and I was talking earlier with Susan Meyer-Patterson,
Yeah.
and she really was talking a lot about relationships. It's going to be a great episode that's going to come out, and I feel the fundamental part of getting the kids to go from year to year or stay in the program is the relationship. Can you talk more about that on your perspective?
Yeah, well, it starts with the first time you meet the kids, right? Obviously, with recruiting, especially, you want opportunities to be in front of the kids, you know, from an elementary school standpoint, and making band or orchestra or choir or whatever seem super fun, you know. But starting relationships, the first interactions you have to sit down with the child one-on-one. If you're doing an instrument drive, let's say, I really like to meet every single child. You know, and so that's how we do it.
I have my beginner drive set up where we have either my assistants or other directors or people that I trust are fitting the instruments and going through that whole process. And at the end, the bottleneck is they all have to come to me.
Yes.
And between myself, the
Yes.
parents, and the whole family and the child, we make the decisions together. And then I get to know them in that short level, and they see that I'm not some scary old man there. I'm a person, and I'm going to be happy to have them.
And they see how organized the program is right off the bat.
Right.
You know, and those first interactions are critical. You know, and parents talk.
Right.
And those positive reactions that they have with
The
you in
community.
interactions, that's where recruiting really is.
I'm always amazed at how many people come into my program knowing so much more about my program than I've ever put on paper. They talk with each other. That's really what happens.
Well, they go to church together.
Sure.
They're on softball, soccer teams together.
And that's also a negative for us too, because if we do have a negative impact on that kid for
Absolutely.
any reason, they're going to talk about it. And I always try in the end to be as professional as possible. But if I'm going somewhere with the family and they don't agree with me, I always try to leave it as good as I can, and because I know that in the end, at least maybe the one thing I can say is we're professional.
Man,
we care.
You've always had a situation where you have siblings in the family where it can be similar in a lot of ways, but sometimes they're completely different kids.
Yeah.
And I can just think of one example of we had a kid who really didn't want to be part of the program. That was the first kid in the family to be in the program. And then the second kid to come in was one of the very best kids we've ever had, and he's going to be a drum major now at Flower Mound.
Well, congratulations to you. I'm in a new program, and I have my first student that is going to be drum major that I started as a beginner, and so I'm really proud of that and getting to see them grow up. And so congratulations to you on that one.
Yeah.
So when the parents are coming in and when they're going through these processes, especially recruitment processes, how does that start? You know, it just nuts and bolts. What is the first interaction that you have with the child in the K-5 area? They start in 6th grade at your school?
They do. Yeah,
okay.
we start
So
in 6th grade.
in K-5, what's your first interaction?
You know, our first interaction is when we go visit the elementary schools. So we may do like a holiday tour when we go around, we play for the kids. And we try to have 5th grade there, but also have other grade levels too. So their first interaction with us might be grade 2, grade 3, and they might see us a few times before they actually meet us and try out an instrument. So for the student, that's the first time.
We have this really great thing that I got on with one of our principals at one of our elementaries, and we've done it at a few others too. That's really fantastic. We go in and do the national anthem for their PTA, and it's a super quick, easy event for us. If their meeting starts at 6 o'clock, we got a bus at 5:45. We bus our little core leadership team, maybe, or whoever can do that. They play. We're in and out of the building in 5 minutes. We get done, and what they see is we're doing a service, and they see the band is present, and we're present doing those things.
Creating opportunities to perform. Veterans Day, that's a perfect opportunity. You know, have a trumpet kid go down and play taps. You know, we graduate almost every single grade at this point. Kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, right.
But in 5th grade especially, though, if you have a small chamber group that's rocking, and you can send them down for the evening 5th grade ceremony that they have, that's huge, or even kindergarten, you know? And then the parents see this, and they see how much fun your kids are having. Ultimately, these kids and the parents can really see themselves now doing that.
Right. Yeah. And they're always excited when they get to go back over to their own elementaries, and I want to go to this one, I want to go to this one, and they're super excited to be the kids like they saw. All right, so ultimately, when they're in 5th grade, starting to make the decision on their schedules for the next year, they've already seen you. They've already been exposed to what you're doing. Right. And so what's the step, what's your first step with them and the first interaction with them when you're getting into actually their choices or their instrument selection, or more detailed what band is about?
Sure. So to give them as much information as we can, we on our website, we have lots of information on each instrument. We have links to YouTube so they can have opportunities to see what a professional flute sounds like and looks like being played. From there, you know,
I really like, pardon me for interrupting, I really like this, I got on with be part of the music, be part of the band. And this website is great for free resources that they put out, free videos that they put out. I use them like crazy, and they're professional videos that sometimes I shoot my own stuff, but sometimes if I want someone to learn about the clarinet, it's nice to have this really pro video. And so I always have the kids show that, and there's a medley, and they come in singing it when I come by, and I know they have that for choir and orchestra now soon.
Yeah, technology's crazy now. We have so many resources that we can utilize. So from there, we schedule appointments to do our instrument selection, right? And so I schedule appointments on a 15-minute basis. The parent comes with a child. We're lucky enough that happens in the evenings or on maybe a Saturday morning. We do that. We build a relationship that way. So we'll ask the child, at least have 3 things you're interested in, and we'll kind of just go from there.
Right. And so when they come in, they have a 15-minute time slot.
Right.
And so how many students, let's say, are you sending out this info to, and how many interviews are you scheduling on an average year?
So for us, we're a smaller double C school, so we typically have 200 to 220 kids coming into the 6th grade class.
Right.
Total, you know?
That's about mine too. So, yeah.
So we're really happy if we're setting up 90 interviews to 100. That's great.
That's about my target.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
so, what percentage of people actually come to the interviews? Because that's always my big deal whenever I schedule some. How do you deal with that?
You know, that's what we offer multiple nights, and we try to make it easy for them. You know, so if that means that we're going to set up at the elementary school because it's easier to their house or wherever they live, great. You know, or if it's more of a central location to have at the high school or have it on our campus, that's what we're going to do. So we try to schedule multiple times that they can kind of be there, and try to be as flexible as we need to be.
Okay, all right. One thing I like to do is give them something afterwards. And so we have, we were doing wristbands and different stuff, but the most effective thing for me, if I send out the information, hey, come this night, well, a lot of people either didn't read the email or didn't get the flyers, or you know how that is.
Right.
You can do everything but scream from the roof, and some people just aren't going to get the info.
Yeah.
And what we'll do is we'll have T-shirts, and it says, we're the Tigers.
Yeah.
It says Tiger Band Member. Big letters is the biggest advertisement. After that first time, all the kids are so excited. They go back the next day, they see this happening, and then I get so many emails. I missed something, blah, blah, blah. My kid says that, and then I have another schedule right there.
Yep.
Yeah. So do you do anything like that?
You know, we do online signups. So individual appointments. So when you do that, I actually use something called GenBook.
Okay.
And it's something that actually some of my doctors use.
Okay.
You know, to set up appointments.
Sure.
I like it because it's really professional, and it'll send you reminders.
Oh, wow.
They'll send reminder emails. Along with the reminder emails, they'll send you additional information on how to get into the building, all these sorts of things. It's all automated.
Wow.
That way I don't have to worry about it.
Exactly.
Way back in the day, we used to take phone calls.
Right. And then it's a long process. And then you're doing a pre-interview, which is taking a lot of your time, too.
Right.
And not that we just want a more personal time all at that one session, not in the conference where we're trying to make sure that our lunch is being eaten. Wow. Okay, so you set up general days and they sign up for their time.
Oh, absolutely.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I wrote this down in my notes because I'm definitely going to be using this next year. I'm so excited about that. All right, so we're looking at it at that time, and then we've been talking about recruiting, and then now they've gotten in the door.
Yes.
Okay, and so overall, you've told us maybe the 30,000 feet level, the general philosophy.
Yeah.
What does that look like on? I might call it a 10,000 feet level or 1,000. What does that look like retaining those kids and going through on a 6-month basis and having that in the back of your mind, or on a weekly or daily basis?
Right. You know, kids, they want to achieve. They want to do well. Everyone wants to do well. It's just a way of helping them find a way to feel like they're achieving. You know, something I've I fell into early in teaching when I was still a bachelor and I had some roommates was video games. Now, I don't play video games, but
you have a child now, and that kind of goes out the window sometimes.
But I tell you what, video game makers are some of like the most. They're the most intelligent and smartest people around. How do they get these kids to be addicted to their games? And it's not all games.
Right.
It's certain games.
Right.
You know.
Right.
And
the design that they put forth in that really captures an audience of any age, but particularly a young audience.
Even more than that, it's kind of scary because I think there are some kids that will play a game because they think they're good at it. And they can see achievement in the game. Take a game kind of crazy like Halo, or those war-based games. You create your own identity in this game, and then you're earning ranks.
Right.
You're earning all these points. Then you earn these badges for your guy or gal in the game. You feel like you're achieving something.
Right.
And you keep going back to it.
Right.
You know. So how can we kind of tap into that and really make the kid feel like they're achieving all the way through? Because if they feel like they're doing well and they're getting better, and kids are smart. I mean, they know if they're not doing well. If we can really personalize it for them on a one-on-one basis, I think that's huge.
And this has been a big topic in the last 5 to 10 years, called gamification of what we're doing. And really, it's not to say that it all has to be about technology and it has to be about trying to imitate exactly a game into that. I've made that mistake before. It's about taking those general philosophies and general ideals and then going forth and implementing that in your program.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like even with beginners, like we're stepping into the door for the first day. You know, we'll start passing off lines of whatever. So even without the instrument, we're passing off lines of the alphabet or what have you. And those are excellent opportunities for kids to perform in front of you and in a way without their instrument and feel like they're getting something done. And we know if you're doing musical alphabet and stuff like that, it's giving them so much knowledge that they're going to use later in the entire process.
Yeah.
But they see the achievement in front of them, whether you use a big sticker board or they have it right in front of them. Them placing stickers on anything is a big deal. You know, and for them to see achievement all the way through the school year with however you pass off lines or what have you is huge.
Sure. Yeah, sure. Okay, let's go back and take a step back now at the competition that you have as a band director. I work very closely with our choir directors and whatnot, and we don't have an orchestra program in my district yet, but I have theater and I have choir and all that stuff. How do you work with them? And like, I don't want to compete. I want children to be a part of music, and if they ever come in and say, I'm going to be joining choir, great. I love that you're doing music. Good luck to you, and we hope you can see. So how does that work with you and your program?
You know, recruiting is such a hot topic because everyone's situation.
There's a kid over there who's just jamming right now on whatever keyboard that is. He's just loving it. He's playing heart and soul on bass.
But it's great background music for us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But recruiting is so different for every campus. Even within the same district. So we're really lucky. Our kids can take up to 2 electives Okay,
That's good. That's good.
You know,
do you have an 8-period day or block, or how does that work?
We do. We have an 8-period day, and it kind of modifies into a block a couple days a week.
Sure. Okay.
But they have opportunities to take choir and band, or choir and orchestra, or orchestra and band. That's a little bit more tricky just because of just the equipment involved and all that. But they can do that, and they can do theater and band. Right. So, you know, we're all really supportive of each other. Quite a bit, even like Veterans Day. Like we actually create a whole assembly for educating the kids, but we all perform.
Sure.
Together. For Veterans Day, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
Well, that's really nice. Again, giving you 2 options. I always hate to limit a child. More and more, I feel like in their lives, they're having to decide what their life is going to be with the direction and. I forget. I'm not a high school guy, so I forget the pathways. Or what do they call
Yeah, you're right.
Something the phrase has gone out of my brain, but there's so much. It's like the pre-major, I call it. You know what I mean? And so they're trying to figure out what they're going to be doing with their lives and going that direction, and it's hindering their music. And I had an 8th grade kid this year, and he said, "Well, I'm not going to do band in high school because I'm going to go be a doctor." Like. You have to do music. There's so much that music does for you.
My wife's a doctor, and she has a master's in horn performance. It's
an easy one for you.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So both of our wives are horn players.
Oh yes.
So yes, my wife is a very good horn player, and not a master's in it, but so we have a lot in common here. Yeah. Well, how does this now take with? What would your parents and the parents in your program? How would they perceive your vision of retention and recruitment?
You know, it's enrichment. You know, we're enriching lives through what we do. So what they would perceive what we do is, you know, it's an extension of building the child, you know, and it's a great outlet emotionally for kids, but it's also a great outlet to put everything together.
Right.
You know,
in one discipline.
Yeah. You know. What parents want, they want their kids to be happy and having fun, and they want them to learn something, you know, and that's ultimately what you want, you know, and there are going to be times, all of our students struggle from time to time, but I think a lot of parents understand struggle is okay. You need to struggle a little bit, but at the same time, you know, they want their kids to be happy, you know, so again, if the kid really feels like they're achieving all the time, and it may be slow or maybe fast at certain points, if we really get them to feel like that's happening all the way along the entire process, 6 to 8, I think it takes care of itself in a lot of ways.
I get so frustrated because something in their lives early on has told them that failure is bad. And I work with them all the time that failure is good. Failure is a success because now you know how to fix that, you can work on that, and there's so many times when we have to fail in music in order to be good musicians, and so we have to try to build that in, and you know, going back to what you're saying with working with the parents and whatnot, a lot of times I feel like, you know, the phrase, of course it takes a village, that we're an extension of their parenting and trying to make these children better people.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for being on, Chris. We really appreciate it. We'll have to have you on again. And I thank Director's Choice for providing us this great set and this great opportunity to be able to hear awesome conversation.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Now, before we leave, you're starting up a project with a couple other people.
Yes.
I was talking to Kathy Johnson a little while ago, and I know some others. You're working on a method book. Tell me a little bit about that.
All right, so it's a project called Musical Mastery.
Okay.
And it is a method book. So it's fantastic. We have some fantastic authors that I'm working with. Kathy Johnson, like you said, Asa Burke. So they're in Argyle right now. Dominic Talanka, who's formerly one of the directors at Marcus, and then Alicia DeSoto, my assistant director at Shadow Ridge. It's a great project. It's really a method book that doesn't compromise the way Essential Elements or, you know, Standard of Excellence or whatever. Those are great books.
Right.
And we use those books as anthologies for songs.
Right.
But the Musical Mastery is all about the handouts that many veteran teachers come up with along the way. You know, it's to supplement, but to really teach the instruments.
Right.
You know, so this is from master teachers like Kathy, you know, that we've all put together and compiled to be really the meat of what you teach, especially the beginner year.
Sure.
while still using all the songs and everything.
Well,
else
and I've used essential elements for a long time,
Yeah.
and when you really, the more I get into essential elements line by line and going through the whole book, it really tells you how genius that book is
Yeah,
when you
absolutely.
go through that and what they were trying to do. But again, it's a state adopted textbook. It's one point. I think it might still be. I can't remember. And but it's a foundation. All this to say, don't go through any method and go line by line. I've never finished that book. I've never gotten to a point, and
Right.
I've never gone in
Oh,
order.
yes.
I always kind of mix it up.
Absolutely.
And I've added my own stuff. And so
Yeah.
what you're saying is you're taking more, you're taking a different kind of approach with each instrument, not everybody maybe in the same class or at the same time. kind of
Absolutely.
approach.
I mean, you're talking about materials that would be fantastic for me, a second-year player in a pull-out situation or a sectional. Or if you're fortunate enough to have the best beginner situation, which is like homogeneous classes, this is for you.
Right.
I mean, we're talking about handouts to lead kids through all the initial stages, but even before you get to the book, we don't use essential elements until maybe week 7 or 8.
Right.
You know, like everything is done without that book.
And I have a really great person in my district that many people know, June Bearden, and I always say she is the master of these pages, and she has. And I have a huge stack of these that I just pull out all the time.
And here's the deal, and that's what this book is really geared towards. This project is really geared towards young teachers.
Right, needing more resources.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, because
and it's not to say that this is even a competition to a standard of excellence
no, it's not.
or essential elements.
No.
This is really the supplemental. That's kind of where you're going for on a lot of this.
And honestly, I use the essential elements as a supplemental to these materials.
Well, there you go.
You know what I mean?
And everybody does their own thing. I'm really excited about getting to hear more about that project and hope that we can talk more specifically about that as we go with you and all the team that's working on this. So thank you so much again for being on the podcast, and we'll hope to have you back on soon.
All right, thank you.